This is the strategy that I'm going to use this year to make sports betting my main investment vehicle. So the first thing I want to discuss in this strategy is going to be the bankroll. So we're going to use my bankroll for an example here, okay? Because that's how I'm going to pretty much tell you guys exactly how the strategy that I'm going to use this year, how it pertains to the bankroll. So my bankroll is going to be 100,000. Now, based off that 100,000, I'm going to split this up into units, okay? What the units are going to be here, they're going to range from 1% to 5%. Now, how I'm going to base what percentage I play on each play is going to consist of the implied versus true probability, okay? So what that is your implied probability is the actual odds calculation percent, okay? So if a play is minus 200, well, that's an implied probability of 66%. Now I'm going to take the implied probability versus the true probability, which the true probability is the odds, what they actually should be, compared to what the event is, the actual probability of that event occurring. Okay, so let's say the implied probability for the odds on a play are 66%. But let's say the true probability on that is actually 80%. Okay, this right here gives us a 14% edge. Okay, so what this means is the odds were minus 200, but they actually should be minus 400. Because minus 400 would give you an 80% implied probability. So you found a discrepancy there. When you find those discrepancies, you create the edge. That's where you get a plus edge, okay? Where your true probability is way higher than your implied probability. This is how I'm going to be able to calculate what percentage of my unit size that I'm going to put on that individual play. And now I'm going to discuss with you guys and break it down with you and show you exactly through each percentage how I'm going to use my unit size to correlate with that. Now, if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you guys are subscribed and make sure you smash that like button so that way it gets out to everybody. And if you guys want to know exactly the plays that I'm going to correlate with this strategy, make sure you guys click the link in the description. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to separate these up, okay? These are going to be plays that have true probability of 70%, 80%, and 90%, and 93%. Okay? The reason why I have these like this is because through tracking over the years, I'm going to show you guys why the percentage should be where it is when you should place these type of bets. So first thing is the 70% area. So 70% area, when I have an edge that is 3% or more, I'm going to do 1%, okay, which is going to be $1,000. Now, we look at 80%. When I have an 80% play now that has at least a 3% edge or more, I'm going to do 2%, okay, just 2,000. And then 90% plays here. So between 90 to 93, okay, this is a little wedge that I'm going to create here. From 90 to 93, I need at least a 5% or more edge. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to go 3% on those type of plays. And then some of you guys have already seen me post this because I post every single play that I end up playing. But you guys probably see this. So 93% true probability plays that have at least 3% edge or higher, I'm doing 5%, okay, which is 5,000. So that's how I'm going to be putting these type of plays in, correlating them with my bankroll, okay? 70% with a 3% edge or more, $1,000. 80% with a 3% edge or more, $2,000. 90% with a 5% edge or more will be $3,000. And then 93% with at least a 3% or higher is going to be a $5,000 play. Now, another thing to discuss here is if you're following along with exactly what I'm doing here and you want to replicate the same exact thing, well, we got to figure out how we're going to get these down at the sports books, right? Because you can't just choose one sports book and just throw these type of plays down there, especially if you're doing the unit size like this. You can't, okay? You're going to get limited. You'll get banned very, very quick. So let's discuss how we're going to do that. So for sports books, the number one area where I'm going to try to attack here is going to be the peer-to-peer. Reason being is because this is where you're not going to get limited at, and you're not going to find that much struggle. This is where I'm going to have to focus my area at, okay, which consists of Novid and Kalshi. I mean, it could go like Polymarket, but Polymarket hasn't really made its way into the U.S. Not too many people have it yet, so can't really write that one down. But that's where I'm going to focus most of my bigger bets at because, like I said, it's peer-to-peer, so I'm just taking other people's money. I can't take the sportsbook's money, and they're not going to ban me, okay? It's going to be the best way to do it at this unit size. Now, if you're not at this unit size, what you can do is obviously you could use, DraftKings, FanDuel, BetRivers, Pretty much most of the ones I've been banned from already. You could use all those sports books, but what you want to do is you want to split your bet up, okay, between multiple sports books, so that way it doesn't create a red flag. Because if you're betting 500 or more single bets at any of these major sports books, not the peer-to-peer ones, but the major sports books, you're going to get banned and you're going to get limited. It happens all the time. Yeah, I know most of you have seen a lot of my videos where FanDuel doesn't want to do business with me, BetRivers doesn't want to do business with me anymore. It is what it is, okay? Got to move on, just got to go to the next account. That's just the way that it goes. But you can do your best to limit that from happening by splitting your bankroll up and your unit size amongst multiple sports books and getting that same bet down. You're not going to get the same exact odds, but as long as you still have that somewhat threshold of around the same edge, you should still be good. So now that we got the bankroll situated, unit size, we got how we're going to split that unit size up amongst bets that give us a certain edge. Like I said, implied probability versus true probability edge. And we got our sports books all written out. Now it's time to focus on the actual strategy, which is going to be how I came up with those percentages that I gave you, okay? How I came up with those percentages now are going to be pretty much, this is the blueprint for that. So the odds that I'm going to stick to are going to be minus 180 or higher, okay? Higher, not below, not minus 150, not minus 110s, none of those. Minus 180 and higher. That is the odd threshold that I'm going to stick to. Now again, I'm going to focus mostly on player props. I might sprinkle in a couple totals here and there. That just depends on the AI system that I'm working on when it comes to team totals and spreads and stuff like that, because that right there can't give me a precise edge, as player props can give me that precise edge to know, expected of what's going to happen or whatnot. So I'm going to stick to player props. I'm going to stick at minus 180 or higher, and I'm going to find that edge, okay? How I'm going to find that edge is going to be between the implied probability versus the true probability. So let's go ahead and talk about an example of how that's going to be put down. Let's go in the NBA for real quick, and let's take a look at Luka, we'll say. Let's say Luka, for example, for him to get 25 points. Okay, that's just what we're looking at. We're looking at him to get 25 points. Let's say his odds to get that, his implied probability is minus 300, which would be a 75% implied probability. Now, the true probability of him actually hitting this is actually 85%. So that right there gives us a gap of 10%, which is on our side. Because the odds on this play should actually be about minus 570, but we're getting it for a bargain at pretty much minus 300. So now that would land me in the threshold of a 2% play, because remember I said 80% above, giving me a better than 3% edge. This is giving me 10. I would be going 2% on this play. That's just an example of one, going through of exactly how you would straight bet and go with this. And again, what we're doing here is we're not worrying about the odds so much, okay? We're worrying about the edge. Because if we could build a consistent edge and do this long term over the course of an entire year, that's where we're going to make the most money. Now, the goal of this is not to get quick money. That's not the goal of this. The goal is to use this as an investment vehicle to where I can collect anywhere from 5 to 10% each month. If I can gain that much, 5 to 10% every month, you're talking about growth that would beat any type of investment that's out there. Now, the only reason that I'm teaching you guys this and showing you guys this because I know that it actually works. Because I've actually been able to do this year after year. And I've been able to actually make money and a nice ROI. That's how I know that what I just showed you the blueprint for is the blueprint to success on how you can actually use sports betting as an investment vehicle rather than just entertaining yourself and just donating. Now, here's the kicker for exponential growth. So once I start this process, each and every month, I'm going to compound and reassess my bankroll. Because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use compound interest to basically build more and more of a bankroll. So let's say after the first month, because like we said, I'm starting out with 100,000, okay? Let's say after the first month, I'm at 110,000. So now, if I'm at 110,000, what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to use that same strategy that I was using for my unit size, but now I'm going to be between that 1 to 5% based off of 110,000. Because now each play is going to be even more now that I gained more money. So this is going to just compound month in and month out, and this is how you get exponential growth. So I'm going to show you guys a screenshot right now of what it would look like to be able to start with a $100,000 bankroll at only making 5 units, okay? 5 units a month. This is very minimal. At 5 units a month, what your ending bankroll would be after 12 months. And I'm going to put it right there so that way you guys could see exactly how that looks, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit more and a little bit more in depth. So now, as you can see, if I stick to this process and just made 5 units, at the bare minimum, 5 units a month, sticking to this process and compounding each time, every single month, at the beginning of the month, I would take that $100,000 bankroll and transform that into nearly $314,000. That's right there is exponential growth, okay? That is a gain of over 200%, which you are not going to see anywhere in any type of investment vehicle, not from the stock market. The only way you'll be able to see that is from very risky options or very risky crypto stuff. That's the only way you'll be able to see those type of gains there. But steady, slow ROI, you're not going to be able to get anywhere else close to that type of number. Now, this only works if you use the blueprint that I just shared with you and that I just showed you step by step to go through. And there's one more thing that you need to understand, because this is the most important thing, is throughout that 12 months of being able to compound your bankroll and to be able to keep moving day in and day out, you're going to have to master something, which is going to be discipline. Discipline is so important, because if you are not disciplined throughout the whole entire 12 months, this will not work. You're not going to see the numbers that I just showed you on that blueprint, okay? You will fail without discipline. What that means is there's no tilting, okay? None of that, which means tilting means betting 10-20% on a play because you lost the play before. None of that. Tilting, chasing losses, it's all in the same boat. We're not doing that whatsoever. No making ill-advised bets, okay? So bets for no reason. Just because you want to be entertained or whatnot, that's what we're going to avoid, because that right there could set you back as well. That's not being disciplined. Skipping days for no reason. If you go through a day and there's nothing that has a true edge that's going to give you that best possible edge, that's okay. But skipping a day because you just didn't feel like doing it could mean that there was opportunity on the table that you missed. Now, guess what? The next day, you might set yourself behind, because now you might have lost the next day when you would have won the day before that you sat out, and you've put yourself behind. So you cannot skip days if it doesn't make sense. It only makes sense to skip days when nothing meets the criteria for you to have an edge, for you to make a play. And the next thing is pretty basic, but I still got to address this, which would be the online casino. All right? Stay away from the online casino, whether it be on any sportsbook app that you have. Stay away from it, because there are so many times where people will win in sports betting and then go and they'll give it right back to the online casino playing blackjack, roulette, baccarat, whatever it is on their slot machines, and they'll donate it right back there. So stay away from the online casinos. If you are disciplined through 12 months and follow the blueprint that I just showed you, you will have the best investment vehicle that is out there right now in the new age.